Hello and welcome to Football Manager 2023 Roleplay, a project where we create a player using the FM pregame editor, give him a potential ability of 200, and see if he will become the greatest American footballer ever. Unlike many videos on YouTube, we will not be managing a club, and we will simply watch the progression of this player, Henry Markle, from the age of 15 to hopefully his eventual retirement. This is a world building exercise where FM23 provides the events, and we tell a story around those events. And here's our current information about 18-year-old Henry Marshall, who joined Liverpool at the beginning of 2025, and he has bounced around between the under 18 and under 21 teams. His current rating is at 127, and the club has put him on loan, with Sunderland showing major interest in picking him up next season. Will he stay at Liverpool or will he go? Let's find out. Henry has a couple of friendlies he might be playing in U.S. men's soccer, so we will catch up with you in a bit. Okay, let's pick up with Henry Marshall and the U.S. men's soccer team. They had a friendly in Houston against Tunisia. Now, on the 14th of June, before the game started, he got a call from his agent, Hunter Alvarez. Liverpool was already talking about renegotiating his contract and that he no more soon. The game in Tunisia ended in a 3-2 win. Henry was on the bench during that game. Let's see if we can go ahead and find this game. There it is. There it is. There's the Tunisia game. And during that game, uh, he was on the bench. He didn't even play that. He didn't even play this game. Let's see if we can find him. Yeah, there he is. And 3 days later, they'd have a game in Bridgeview, Illinois against the Netherlands team. He was actually featured in an interview. Let's see if we can find it here with football90.com. Okay, Gold Cup. Let's see, there he is. Marshall. Can't even find anything there. Is this plantfootball.com? Nope. Yeah, we lost a little bit of his past here. But anyway, he did talk to 90 Football, plantfootball.com. He thought the USA could take on the Netherlands. He talked about his playing with the Liverpool reserves, what that was like. So anyway, 3 days later, let's see if we can get back to it here. They played the Netherlands. This was in Bridgeview, Illinois. That was a 0-1 loss. And Marshall didn't really have a whole lot of part in that game. If you look at this player statistics here, let's see if we can find him here. I'm sure we can. Came in the 3rd minute, went off the 13th minute with a minor injury. Still, he now had his 5th cap. There's a poor performance. He was asked to talk to 90minute.com, another website, in detail about this loss. He made the right noises. He said that the U.S. should have won this game, but it was clearly a poor performance, and he definitely didn't want to slag the U.S. team because he still would be selected for more games. At least he had his 5th U.S. cap. After this game, he received notice from Liverpool. He was going to be expected to fly to Australia. The main club, the senior club, was taking part in the FIFA Club World Cup, and they wanted him as a reserve on the Liverpool main team in Australia. He couldn't believe it. He got on the first flight to Australia, met the team, and shook hands with them as the stranger that he was. He was even assigned a kit with a new number, kit number 32, which I believe now is the kit number that Henry is wearing. And he finally had his chance to meet Jurgen Klopp. Now, Jurgen was a very pleasant man, and he told Marshall that, look, You're probably not going to be used for the FIFA Club World Cup. He said to Henry, I want you to get experience. The reason we brought you here is you need to start thinking of yourself as a real footballer. And this is a good way to get started. Wear the kit, represent Liverpool in a high profile tournament. Wait and be patient. I expect your patience is going to pay off very shortly. So the first game was in Adelaide, and he got more news from Hunter Alvarez. Liverpool had upped his contract. It was now a 5-year deal worth $1.82 million. Various bonuses. It secured him. We'll take a look at this contract in detail here. There it is. Various player and appearance bonuses. Salary increases depending on the number of appearances he had with Liverpool. Optional 1-year extension by the club. It secured him in at least 2030 or 2031. Now, Hunter said, normally I don't read the message boards. I don't recommend that you read them either. But but Liverpool put out a social media message after this. It got 40,000 likes, and the fans had a lot of positive things to say. There's this guy called Reds Insider 1892 who is apparently one of these deep throat kind of guys who knows everything. And he said, quote, every coach I spoke to ecstatic. They say he can be great. We want this lad in Liverpool. He's making great progress and it will pay off. He will be a star. Well, this was certainly a very grand gesture from the club and the fans. And it made up for a lot of ill feeling he had toward how he was used. And look, you're getting $1.8 million a year for 5 years. How much complaining can you possibly do? He was going to have to wait until how the Sunderland situation went because Sunderland wanted him on loan before he started looking for a full-time place to live in Liverpool. So in the FIFA World Cup, I don't know if we still have these games available. We might have them here. And yeah, it rolled over. We lost the previous year's games. We could probably find them in the social feed if we look hard enough. Let's see. Yep, this is a game against Cruz Azul, a Mexican team. 4-0 win. Now, Mohamed Salah wasn't there, but he wasn't with the team. Mohamed wasn't with the team. Clearly, they didn't need him. Now, Marshall was almost the very last guy on the bench here. I just want to show you that. But at least he was there. And the next day, he would practice with the club, and he gave everything. He wanted to show that he was a real professional player. Now, the Liverpool senior players kind of treated him like their kid brother because he was the youngest guy there. But at least it was a job. It was a nice job to spend time between games and luxury accommodations and watch fans running and chasing after him. He signed autographs for the Aussies, even though he suspected they didn't even know who he was. One of his best memories that he had was getting a rub down after a practice, and he thought, yeah, I can get used to this. There was another game against Melbourne in their group. Let's see if we can get to that game. There it is, a comfortable 3-0 win for the Reds. And he didn't even play in that game as a reserve. He just watched it from the stands. So he was kind of an outsider. He went to dinners with the club, but nobody invited him to go out to bars or clubs or anything like that. He hadn't really proven himself. He wasn't a real member of the team, not yet. The suite hotel rooms at Liverpool Stadium seemed to be very quiet at night, and he suspected that a lot of players had gone on a boys' night out. He wasn't part of their company, not yet. When he came back to practice the next day, one player asked him, so did you get any sleep last night? I could use some. On the 29th, they placed Real Madrid, and that was going to be in the FIFA World Cup quarterfinals. Before the game, he learned from Hunter that these loan deals, this proposed loan deal with Sunderland, it had fallen through. That was okay with him. Henry had seen Sunderland till I die. He'd watch that show, and Sunderland. The impression that the show gave of Sunderland was it was a pretty rundown place. So that was fine with him. He was back on the bench during the Real Madrid game, but he didn't play in that game either. Liverpool would lose this game 1-1 on penalties near the end. A lot of players, pretty weak at the penalty stage here. A lot of misses. Alexander Arnold had a miss. Henry Elliott had a miss. Diogo Jota, they all missed one, two. Only one of the five Liverpool players, managed to even, make a penalty kick in that game. And that was it. They all whiffed. He didn't get to play with Liverpool, but at least he would fly back with the team and go back to Liverpool in luxury. He was able to rent out his previous Airbnb that he'd stayed in, before for another 9 days. He had to think about when he was going to pull the trigger and, get a actual flat, of his own. But he would put that off until after the transfer window closed. He was technically on vacation, and he managed to get his old friend Jonathan Wynn on video chat. Let's see if we can bring Jonathan Wynn up here. You remember him? He was the kid from St. Louis Academy that he knew. Right, there he is. Now, Wynn was now with BlackRock. That BlackRock is an amateur team, and when Jonathan told him he'd only played in one game so far, and that was a substitute. So what was Jonathan doing in his spare time? He was trying to make a living as an Uber driver somewhere in Massachusetts, and it sounded really depressing. Henry had seen Jonathan play. He thought that Jonathan would have had some, and he wasn't very impressed with Jonathan's play. He thought that Jonathan would have come to his senses by now and had some sense to give up this dream of playing pro soccer and, go to college. But Jonathan was just as stubborn as he was. Now, Henry had been overlooked by the U.S. for the World Cup, so practice started up again with the Liverpool under-21s. They would be playing the beginning of the under-21 season, the set of games against lower-level sides in Scotland and England. Russell John had returned to the under-21s. Yeah, this guy right here. We can find him. There he is, Russell John. And we may give Russell John a face in the future. He had had an away stint with Norwich, which lasted 18 games, and he was been put right back on loan again. So Henry wanted to pick John's brain as much as he could. And Henry got the impression from John that the Sky Bet Championship, the championship was a hard league to play in. So on July 12th, Marshall started the season with the under-21 squad in an away match against a lower division semi-pro Scottish club, Stirling. Now, Henry had a great match in that game until the 82nd minute. Let's get to these games here. Right here. Into the 82nd minute, 7.2 match rating. And then in the 82nd minute, he felt his right upper thigh started to spasm, and he had to be helped off the pitch. He had a lot of pain. And initially, they didn't know what was wrong with him because the pain and the spasming didn't go away. So when the club returned back to Liverpool, he was sent to the physio. And the physio said, "This is out of my league." And they called him a specialist. And it took a couple of days for the specialist to diagnose what happened. He had a severe hip flexor strain with possibly a tear that involved several thigh muscles. And Henry wondered what that meant. I mean, a hip flexor strain is basically an injury of the muscles with the thigh meets the hip. Now, it could be treated with surgery, but the specialist didn't want to do any surgery due to Henry's age, unless the pain wasn't being relieved. But he would be out, maybe, going to be conservative about this, he would be out at least 6 weeks, maybe longer. He would have to wear a brace. Now, a brace is an elastic wrap worn around the waist and the affected leg. He would be on pain medications. These were over-the-counter pain medications. And he would be receiving a treatment that Henry had never heard of. Ultrasound guided platelet rich plasma treatments, which would basically involve using his own blood for the infusion. And the specialist said, "My advice to you is you stay off your legs as much as possible for the next couple of weeks. If the pain doesn't go away after 3 weeks, we'll meet again and we'll pursue our options." So, what we'll do is we'll try to move forward in time through Henry's recovery and back to the ordinary timeline. So Henry was forced to spend most of his time on the couch watching television and trying to sleep. And sleep didn't come easy because his upper right leg was in so much pain. It was a prison sentence. He was bored, angry, frustrated so much that going out to the grocery store was a great relief, even though he had to hobble all the way. It was just good to be out of the bungalow. The girls he had met clubbing would text him, but they wouldn't come over, so no company from them or from his teammates. He barely endured it for the first 2 weeks, and the pain still wasn't going away. He was in a text chat with someone in football. I can't say who it is due to YouTube liability. And they said, "Well, have you tried marijuana?" Henry admitted that he had never smoked. "Okay, how about gummies?" At that point, Henry was ready to try anything. His teammate came over and brought a small can of marijuana gummies. "Now, don't take more than 2 or 3 of these at a time," he said. "I'd start slow. If you can't get to sleep, pop one of these. And if it doesn't work in 30 minutes, pop another one." So he tried it. The pain didn't seem to be going away much even after the first one. So he took the second one, closed his eyes after 5 minutes, and opened them after 12 hours later. It was the first good night's sleep he'd had in weeks. So he began using the gummies to get some sleep. He was determined not to have any surgery. He lied to the specialist about the pain going away after 3 weeks. He said that he was, quote unquote, almost pain free, but had to really struggle through physical therapy for a week. And then one day, as he put it, the pain broke, and he was more or less free from the pain. He threw the gummies away after that. He didn't want to have them where he lived. About a year later, he learned two things. First, that most people had to wait 30 minutes to a couple of hours before gummies took effect. Second, that the gummies he was taking, the dose was, well, let's just say it was a high dose and certainly nothing a neophyte would want to take while awake. He wondered how the player who gave him the gummies stood upright during the day. One disappointment was that to watch the U.S. men's national team with the Gold Cup, and he wasn't selected. But he was happy to be back with his mates, particularly Kenny Pierman. This guy. Take a look at him. There he is. There's good old Kenny. This was his roommate when they were both on the U.S. Olympic team in 2024. Liverpool. In the meantime, Liverpool, as we can see here, they've put Henry Marshall back on loan, even though he still has rehab to finish. After several futile attempts to get back in touch with Lucy Bennett, she texted him. It wasn't working out, she said. Now, on the other hand, when he texted Teresa Hill, she called him. She apologized for keeping him at arm's length. It turns out that the University of Liverpool's exams and clubbing did not mix, and she had to make up the work that she had failed during the previous semester. Teresa said that her failure put her into a quote unquote depression spiral that she was just climbing out of. They went out to dinner again, and she had lost none of her charm and kindness. She told Henry that she was glad to get back together again. It's good to just have some fun again. She was even willing to hook up with them that night, which was a bit troublesome due to his hip. Henry was glad that he hadn't lost her. There was one final matter on Henry's mind. Jurgen Klopp had told him that he needed to adopt the role of a player in his mind. And Henry knew that his lack of a flat or a permanent place to live was a sign of hesitation. He wasn't going to be renting 90 days at a time anymore. Therefore, he gritted his teeth and bought a 1.5 million pound house, 4 beds, 3 baths, $1.875 million in American money. He had to put down $230,000 as a down payment. However, it came with the furniture. That was one less thing he'd have to worry about. And as he sat looking outside at his lawn for the first time, he had a million questions about utilities, water, landscaping, etc. Perhaps the player liaison officer at Liverpool would help him. Or perhaps he would be loaned out. And that's the end of this episode. So Henry will still be on the mend, as it were. Will he be loaned out to some other team? How long will it take him to recover? Anyway, if you like what you hear or see, make a comment or hit the like and or subscribe button. Until next time.